Discover the incredible moment a heartwarming stranger transforms her life after a grocery spill. Sarah stood at the grocery store, the fluorescent lights glaring down like a spotlight on her blurry world. With every step, she felt the weight of her double life pressing against her. A single mother, working 2 jobs just to scrape by, she was determined to give her kids a better future. Their smiles fueled her fire, even as the bills piled high and the pressure mounted. But as she reached for a bag of oranges, her tired mind wandered, and with a swift movement, she sent the entire display tumbling. Fruits rolled everywhere, apples, oranges, and bananas collided in a chaotic splash of color on the floor. The laughter of nearby shoppers stung her like a needle, and heat rushed to her cheeks. What kind of mother knocks over a fruit stand? As she crouched to gather the mess, tears of frustration threatened to spill. Her heart was heavy, the reality of her life crashing down around her. How was she supposed to keep it all together when everything felt like it was falling apart? Suddenly, a shadow slid next to her. "Hey there, let me help you with that." Hannah, a retired nurse with kind eyes, knelt beside her, her silver hair shining like a beacon of hope. With a warm smile, she began picking up the scattered fruit, and Sarah felt a tiny spark of relief. "You know what? We all have those days," Hannah said, her voice gentle. "It doesn't make you any less of a mother." For the first time that day, Sarah heard something more than the voice in her head that criticized her failures. This stranger was offering comfort, reminding her of the strength and persistence. As they scrubbed the floor together, Hannah shared her story. "I grew up in a tough neighborhood," she said, "but it was the support of my community that helped me stand tall." Sarah nodded, feeling a wound open in her heart. The struggle of single parenting, the desire for self-sufficiency, it was all too familiar. Yet, pride twisted in her chest. "I can handle this," she wanted to tell Hannah. She was used to managing alone. Asking for help felt unnatural. Panic bubbled inside her, battling against her instinct to keep her burdens to herself. As if the universe sensed her turmoil. Just days later, Sarah's job was cut without warning. Suddenly, her financial stability, a rickety stack of cards, collapsed. Panic set in. Rent was due, her kids needed clothes, and fear gnawed at her insides. With each rejection in her job search, she felt more invisible. The world measured worth by dollars and success, and it left her simmering with resentment. Then she heard about Hannah's plan for a community support program. The idea seemed far-fetched, almost laughable. But for Sarah, a lifeline was a lifeline, no matter how it looked. Torn between her instinct to provide and the shame of needing help, Sarah hovered on the edge of choice. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. With her situation becoming dire, the prospect of connecting with others began to shimmer like a distant star. Could opening up lead to something beautiful? Or would she be left exposed and vulnerable? As Sarah closed her eyes, a kaleidoscope of choices swirled in her mind. Could she let go of her burdens long enough to allow the community's warmth in? The answer hung straight above her, but like a fruit hanging on a tree, it felt just out of reach. The weight of scrutiny and societal expectations loomed, begging for her to decide. Would she step towards connection or remain alone in her struggle? The sun dipped low in the sky, painting the neighborhood in warm hues of orange and gold. Sarah stood at the threshold of her modest apartment, absorbing the curtains fluttering in the breeze. She had spent the afternoon wrestling with a decision, feeling the weight of every choice pulling at her. Her phone buzzed, pulling her back to reality. It was a message from Hannah. "We're meeting tomorrow at the community center. Would love to see you there." A part of her wanted to hit ignore and bury herself under a pile of laundry, where safety felt less daunting. But another part, the part that still dared to dream, felt the spark of possibility. Maybe it was time to let someone in. With a deep breath, Sarah allowed herself to feel the anxiety twist in her stomach. It was new territory, stepping away from her protective bubble. What if she ran into people from her past? What if they judged her, saw the tattered edges of her life? But then again, what if they didn't see? What if they understood? With the night stretching before her, she tried to distract herself, flipping through old photo albums with her kids. Their laughter echoed in the room, each picture pulling her back to moments where life felt easier. The smiles reminded her of why she fought so hard, why she juggled jobs, bills, and late-night homework sessions. But the weight of her decisions lingered, even as her children's joy filled the air. When morning came, Sarah scrubbed the kitchen floors and tidied up the living room, the familiar action calming her nerves. She dressed with care, pulling on her favorite top, the one that felt a little like armor. It was time to face this world that had felt so cold and unforgiving lately. The community center was buzzing with life when she arrived. Laughter floated through the air like a melody. She hesitated at the door, watching a group of women embrace, arms wrapped tight around each other. They looked radiant, full of life and kindness. Would they look at her differently? As if sensing her presence, Hannah caught sight of her and waved, her warm smile cutting through Sarah's apprehension. "Come on in, don't be shy. We're just getting started," she called out, beckoning her forward. With each step, Sarah felt both terrified and excited. She joined the circle, catching bits of conversation that reflected struggles she knew too well. Being a single mother, juggling bills, fear of being judged, it was as if they were sharing pieces of her own heart. As the meeting opened with a prayer, everyone bowed their heads, and for a brief moment, Sarah felt enveloped by a sense of belonging. She was reminded of what Hannah had told her on that fateful day in the grocery store. "It doesn't make you any less of a mother." Those words echoed in her mind, wrapping around her heart like a warm blanket. The meeting flowed, introducing stories of triumph and heartbreak, laughter and tears. Sarah listened intently, feeling a kinship with the women around her. It was scary, yet invigorating. Her heart swelled with a yearning for connection she had been too proud to admit. But then, just as she thought she could open up, the voice of self-doubt crept back in, whispering insecurities. What if she was too broken to belong? Could she really allow herself to lean on others? As she wrestled with her thoughts, Hannah turned to her with a knowing smile. "You've got this. Don't hold back." That simple encouragement broke a dam within Sarah, triggering a rush of emotion that made her heart race. It was now or never. But before she could share her story, the room jumbled into excited chatter and laughter. In that moment, she felt the tide of connection pulling her in different directions, fear and hope grappling against the backdrop of fragile camaraderie. Would this group help her find the strength to face her struggles? Or would her vulnerability push her further into solitude? As the meeting flowed with stories and laughter, Sarah decided she couldn't hold back any longer. She took a deep breath, clenching her fists in determination. Everyone seemed so open, sharing their trials with candor that made the air feel electric. Could she really be that brave? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, another woman caught her eye. Angela, a vibrant redhead with freckles on her cheeks, was sharing a tale of her own struggles with a difficult divorce. Her voice quivered, yet she smiled brightly, radiating resilience. The room was silent, captivated by her words. Sarah felt herself drawn in, forgetting her own hesitations. It was empowering, hearing someone confront hardship head-on. Maybe she could do that, too. An unexpected rush of affection swept through Sarah. They were all in this together, fighting their own battles, each scar a badge of survival. The dynamics in the room were shifting. It felt less like a meeting and more like a sanctuary. And yet, as her opportunities faded away, self-doubt crept in. What if her story was too much? What if they didn't want to hear about her struggles? Suddenly, Hannah took charge in the circle, guiding everyone to share something positive that had happened in the past week. A woman named Carla spoke first about her son's recent award at school, her voice full of pride. The others chimed in with their victories, big and small, creating ripples of joy that echoed around the room. Each contribution softened the air, filling it with hope and camaraderie. Sarah noticed how the energy lifted after each story. Seeing the genuine smiles made her heart thump with possibility. Angela encouraged her to share too, nudging her gently with a grin. The room's warmth enveloped Sarah, suspending her fears momentarily. "Okay, I'll go," she finally said, the words tentative yet liberating. It's been a challenging time, but I finally took the step to come here. I guess that's my win." A wave of support washed over her, rising like a crescendo of cheers. Hannah's smile widened, and she nodded enthusiastically. "That's amazing, Sarah. It takes courage to reach out, especially when things feel overwhelming." Encouraged by the warmth in the room, Sarah continued, "I'm a single mom trying to juggle everything: work, the kids. Sometimes it feels like I'm drowning." The collective sigh from the group affirmed that her struggles resonated. Several heads nodded, eyes filled with understanding. With each word, Sarah felt a weight being lifted. Finally, she shared a little about her son's basketball team and the pressure she felt to keep everything afloat alone. The women listened intently, their eyes locking with hers, kindness radiating from every corner of the room. When she finished, the applause surprised her, genuine, heartfelt appreciation that made her cheeks flush with warmth. But just when the moment felt perfect, a shudder of uncertainty passed through her. What would happen when she had to go home? The applause faded, and the room grew noticeably quieter. Even amidst this newfound connection, the prospect of returning to her solitary life loomed large. Was this fleeting moment merely a glimpse of what could be, only to face the reality of her struggles again? Seeing her furrowed brow, Angela leaned toward her, softly saying, "You've just taken the first step. We're all here for you, you know. You're not alone in this." That reassuring statement wrapped around Sarah like a lifeline. For the first time in a long while, hope began to bloom in her heart, fragile yet radiant. Could she really lean on these women? Would she allow them to be the support she desperately needed? As the meeting came to a close, Sarah found herself swept up in hugs and laughter, exchanging phone numbers. She felt lighter than she had in years, but also acutely aware of the emptiness of her apartment waiting for her. What if she let them into her life? What would it mean to open her heart this way? As she stepped outside, the sun kissed her cheeks, and for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that change was possible. But would she be able to reach out again when things got tough? The uncertain journey ahead sparked questions she didn't know how to answer. The next day, Sarah woke up feeling different. The sunlight streamed into her room, glinting off the dust motes that danced in the air. She stretched and smiled, a fleeting but genuine flicker of hope warming her heart. Suddenly, everything felt possible. Last night's meeting kept playing in her mind, the laughter and connections swirling around like a chorus of encouragement. As she prepared breakfast for her son, Luke, she moved with a new energy. The smell of pancakes filled their small kitchen, a scent of normalcy that she hoped would bring back smiles. Luke bounded in, tousled hair sticking up like a wild mane, his bright blue eyes sparkling with mischief. "Hey, Mom, smells amazing," he exclaimed, throwing his arms around her waist. Her heart soared. "Thanks, buddy. Just trying to start the day right." They sat down together, enjoying breakfast. Luke chattered about school, his friends, and the latest video game he wanted. Sarah listened, absorbed in his animated stories, even as the weight of yesterday's struggles loomed in the background. She felt lighter, as if the meeting had stripped away some of the heaviness she always carried. After breakfast, they headed to the grocery store. Sarah's nerve wavered as they walked through the sliding glass doors. Crowds always made her anxious. Would she spot someone from a meeting? What would she say? But unfolding her little cart felt like stepping into a new chapter. As they navigated the aisles, Luke picked out snacks while Sarah focused on her shopping list. The vibrant colors of fresh produce, the enticing aroma of bread from the bakery, and chatter around her began to lift her spirits, a remarkable contrast to her usual dread of the mundane weekly chore. Then it happened. While reaching for a can on the top shelf, the whole bottom row of canned goods suddenly toppled over. They crashed to the floor with a chaotic clatter, rolling in every direction. People turned, some chuckled, others glared. Sarah's face flushed. "Oh no, I'm such a klutz," she mumbled, scrambling to pick them up. Just as Sarah felt the familiar swell of embarrassment, someone knelt beside her, Angela, her new friend from the meeting. With a bright smile and a calm energy, she began helping her gather the runaway cans. "Looks like we have a little situation here," Angela joked, her voice light, diffusing the embarrassment. "Is it bad luck to meet again like this?" Sarah laughed nervously, her cheeks still warm. "Not at all. Just a chance to make more memories," Angela replied, winking. They chatted while they picked up cans, sharing laughs and stories in those brief moments. The other shoppers resumed their business, but Sarah felt a spark of connection, like recycling the kindness she'd received just a day before. Once they finished, Angela glanced at Sarah with genuine warmth and said, "How's it going? Have you thought more about reaching out? I think you'll find sharing isn't just about the struggles, it's about the victories too." Just then, Luke came up holding a candy bar in each hand, a goofy grin on his face. "Can I have them both, Mom?" Sarah blinked, her heart dancing at the juxtaposition of simple joys against life's chaos. "Only if you can share one with your friend." As they laughed together, Sarah realized that the grocery spill wasn't just a moment of clumsiness. It was a metaphor for her life. Things might topple and spill, but support was just around the corner, ready to help pick up the pieces. Moving through the store together, Sarah felt lighter, more open. She was beginning to understand that reaching out wouldn't just help her, it could cultivate connections she never imagined. But once she returned home and the world quieted, a shadow of doubt crept back in. Could she really sustain these new relationships? Would she be brave enough to let others in, even when the challenges loomed large? What if her hopes slipped like those cans had? With her heart racing and her mind swirling, Sarah knew she was on the edge of something important. The next morning was drenched in sunlight again, spilling through the kitchen window, igniting the familiar warmth that had started to settle in Sarah's heart. She stirred in her chair, letting the gentle hum of life around her wash over her. Luke was occupied with his cereal, his small feet swinging under the table like eager pendulums. "Mom, when are we going to see Angela again?" he asked, crunching on a piece of cereal with wide eyes. Caught off guard, Sarah paused. She and T truly thought about it. "I don't know, buddy. Maybe we can invite her over for dinner? Or for a play date?" Luke's face lit up like a light bulb. "Yes, I want to show her my video game. And we can make cookies." She laughed, the idea warming her from the inside out. Sure, she could reach out. If Luke wanted to connect, why shouldn't she? Maybe it would be fun. With her plan set, Sarah started her day with renewed purpose. She decided to run a few errands before Saturday's breakfast with Angela. First on the list was a call to a local bakery. As she dialed, her heart fluttered nervously. Would they take her order? Would she sound silly? "Hello, Sweet Treat Bakery. How can I help you?" The cheerful voice on the other line chirped. Hi. I'd like to order some cookies for a gathering." Sarah's voice softened under the pressure. With each passing moment, she felt a little stronger, a little more capable. The bakery owner was delightful, taking her order with enthusiasm. Sarah hung up with a surprised grin, feeling an odd mix of accomplishment and disbelief. Who knew ordering cookies could be such an uplifting task? Later, while at the store again, she gathered the ingredients for the cookies Luke was so eager to bake. The same aisles echoed with the sounds of laughter and chatter she had missed only a week ago. She noticed new things, like the vibrant colors of flowers and the enticing aroma of fresh bread wafting from the bakery section. Each step felt easier, and it was exhilarating as she turned a corner. A familiar figure caught her eye. Angela. She stood by the dairy section, her cart full of colorful items. Like magnets drawn together, they approached each other, smiles plastered on their faces. "Hey, fancy seeing you here," Angela exclaimed, her eyes sparkling. "Hi, I was just picking up some things for a gathering." Sarah hesitated, but found her confidence. "Actually, would you like to come over for a playdate with Luke? We want to bake cookies." Angela's face lit up. Absolutely. That sounds fun. I'll bring some sprinkles and chocolate chips. They exchanged details, their chatter flowing effortlessly between them. Sarah realized she didn't feel nervous or self-conscious anymore. Instead, she felt a warm thrill in the pit of her stomach, excitement bubbling within her. Later that afternoon, home felt alive with possibility. Sarah and Luke worked side by side in the kitchen, laughter mixing with the scent of sweet cookie dough that filled the air. Luke was a flurry of energy, giggling as he tossed chocolate chips into the bowl like confetti. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Sarah's heart raced. Was this really happening? She opened the door to find Angela standing there, bright and radiant. Did someone say cookies? Angela declared theatrically, holding up a colorful bag of sprinkles. Sarah chuckled, feeling the weight of anxiety lift like butter melting in a warm pan. Come in. We've got a whole baking adventure ahead. As they all settled into the kitchen, Sarah felt an undeniable shift inside her. Sharing laughter and flour-covered hands, she realized these moments. This joy, woven together by connection, were the true victories she had been searching for. But as the cookies baked, an unexpected pang of fear crept in. What if these connections could be fragile? Could they easily crumble like a cookie under pressure? She shook her head, fighting off the doubt. No, she was ready to embrace the warmth around her, despite the uncertainty that lurked in the shadows. As they waited by the oven, Luke's laughter echoing against the walls, Sarah smiled softly, wondering what other surprises life had in store. As the warm smell of cookies enveloped the kitchen, Angela and Luke were busy forming dough balls, their laughter ringing like music against the sounds of the oven timer. Sarah looked at them from the counter, her heart swelling with gratitude. Here was a moment she had longed for, a feeling of belonging. Can I help? Angela paused, a smudge of flour dusting her cheek, making her look even more approachable. Of course. Here, you can help with the sprinkles. Sarah handed over the jar, feeling lighter. It was as if the weight she had carried for so long was beginning to lift in the warmth of this shared experience. Luke squealed with delight as Angela coated the fresh cookies with an explosion of colors. Look, Mom, they're going to be the best cookies ever. He practically bounced on his toes. Why don't you tell Angela about your video game while we wait? Sarah suggested, her heart buzzing with excitement. Oh, it's super cool. You can race cars and build your own tracks. Want to see it after we bake? Luke's enthusiasm was contagious, and Sarah felt a flicker of joy at the thought of their friendship blossoming. Absolutely, Angela replied, her eyes sparkling with interest, but I have a confession. I'm not the best at racing games. Maybe I'll need some tips. Sarah couldn't help but laugh as they continued their baking, mixing in the laughter with the sugar and spice. But just as the cookies began to look golden and ready, the doorbell rang again. Who could that be? Sarah wondered aloud, glancing toward Angela, who shrugged, her face still lit with enthusiasm from the cookie-making chaos. Maybe it's a cookie monster, Luke joked, running to answer the door before Sarah could get a word in. She felt a wave of affection wash over her as her son flung the door open, revealing a neighbor she hadn't seen in years. Hi, Sarah home? It was Mrs. Jenkins, a warm, kind woman from down the street. The sight of her brought memories flooding back of potlucks and summer barbecues. She looked older, but was still the same caring soul Sarah remembered. Hi, Mrs. Jenkins. It's so good to see you, Sarah exclaimed, stepping over to embrace her. What brings you here today? Oh, I just wanted to drop by and catch up. I miss seeing you around, Mrs. Jenkins replied, glancing into the fragrant kitchen. I see you're baking. What a lovely idea. Angela leaned casually against the counter, smiling at the encounter, while Luke peered from behind Sarah, his curious eyes darting between the two adults. I'm making cookies with Luke and Angela, Sarah explained, a sense of community wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. Well, I had just picked up some fresh berries from the market. Would you like to make some dessert together? A berry topping for the cookies sounds delightful, Mrs. Jenkins suggested, her eyes fleeting with hope, the room filled with a different kind of energy at the mention of collaboration. Sarah's heart tugged at the thought, hadn't she craved this sense of togetherness? There could be something special in welcoming these relationships back into her life. Sure, that sounds amazing, Sarah replied, her excitement bubbling up again. As Mrs. Jenkins joined the throng in the kitchen, a feeling of unity began to blossom. They all stood shoulder to shoulder, the kitchen buzzing with laughter, flour, and ideas. There was a possibility that it was bigger than cookies. They were crafting an experience, a tapestry of connection. But just as Sarah began to relax, fear took root again. What if this newfound connection was fleeting? What if she opened her heart, only to feel the pain of loss again? She shook her head again, willing the doubts away. No more fear, no more hesitation. This was a moment, and it deserved to be cherished. But as the cookies were pulled from the oven, bubbling with promise, Sarah couldn't shake the nagging thought. What was the price of opening up? The kitchen filled with the sweet aroma of success. But with each laugh, a shadow lingered at the back of her mind. Was it all truly fragile? And just then, at the peak of warmth and merriment, the kitchen plunged into darkness as the power cut off, leaving them surrounded by shadows, breathless in uncertainty. In the sudden darkness, the laughter froze mid-sentence, replaced by fragile silence. The comforting smells of warm cookies lingered in the air, but the joy was suddenly muffled, like a distant memory. "Oh!" Luke's voice pierced the dark. "Is it a monster?" "Not a monster, buddy," Sarah replied, trying to keep her voice light. "Just a power outage." Angela's voice came from nearby, a touch of nervousness creeping in. "Does anyone have a flashlight?" As if on cue, Mrs. Jenkins dug into her purse and produced a small flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom. It illuminated their playful faces, capturing the sense of surprise and intrigue in their eyes. "Okay, everyone stay close," Sarah instructed, her heart racing just a little faster, the sudden change rattling her composure. She could feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down, and she didn't want Luke to sense her fear. "I'm not scared," Luke declared bravely, standing tall. "We can bake in the dark." Mrs. Jenkins laughed softly, the sound warm and reassuring. "When I was a girl, we used to have a lot of fun during blackouts. We'd make shadow puppets on the wall." "Yeah," Luke brightened. "Let us do that." With pure intention, they gathered around the beam of light, creating makeshift stories through shadow play. Laughter, flickering like candlelight, returned to their hearts, igniting the space again with new energy. For a moment, their world turned simple, filled with shadows dancing on the wall, blanketing the fear lurking beneath the surface. But as the shadows swirled, Sarah couldn't shake off the doubts that flickered through her mind. What if this moment passed? What if they never shared this laughter again? Angela broke the spell of Sarah's thoughts, her tone gentle yet firm. "You're doing a great job, Sarah. Just look at Luke. He is having a blast." The light revealed Angela's earnestness, and Sarah's heart softened a little. She took a breath, realizing that perhaps this community was fragile, but it was also resilient. "You're right," she admitted, "and thank you for being here." Just then, the power surged back, flooding the kitchen with light. Luke gasped, spinning around to witness the return of their comfort zone. The cookies glistened on the counter, entire worlds baked into each batch. "Ready for some cookie decorating?" Angela beamed, her eyes twinkling like the newly restored lights. "I want to make a cookie monster," Luke declared, bouncing on his toes. "Sounds perfect," Sarah chuckled, the weight lightening even more. They rallied around the counter, sprinkles ready, giggles erupting like the dough itself. The moment sparked a lush sense of unity, fusing together their fears and joys. And while Sarah still felt the pinch of anxiety tighten occasionally, the warmth of their laughter knitted a patchwork of reassurance in her heart. How long had it been since she truly let herself join in? As they decorated their cookies, a sense of magic hung in the air. Every sprinkle applied, every smile exchanged felt like a step closer to healing. But just as Sarah began to believe in the sweetness of her present reality, a soft knock echoed through the door, drawing their attention away. "Who is it now?" Luke asked, his excitement bubbling. Sarah exchanged glances with Angela and Mrs. Jenkins, a tingle of anticipation pulsating in the air. "Shall we see?" she replied, both curious and anxious. What awaited them on the other side of the door? With a deep breath, Sarah glanced back at the others, their faces reflecting curiosity and a hint of concern. The laughter for moments before felt like a fragile bubble, and she wasn't sure if this knock would shatter it or add something new. "Okay, I'll check," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. As she approached the door, she felt the warmth of Luke's small hand clasp her leg. She looked down, and he smiled up at her, his eagerness infectious. "Don't worry, Sarah. It's probably just a lost cat or something," Luke said confidently, the reflection of the kitchen lights flickering in his wide eyes. Sarah smiled back, and with a push, she opened the door. A gust of cool air brushed against her skin, and she leaned into the threshold, peering out into the dimly lit evening. At first, she saw nothing, just the soft glow of streetlights lining the quiet street. Then, she noticed a figure a few steps away, pausing just beyond the glow of the porch light. "Hello," she called out, her voice steady despite the flutter in her chest. The figure stepped forward, revealing a young woman, her hair tousled and damp, as if she had just come in from the rain. She held a large shopping bag, its contents spilling over onto the pavement. Mixed vegetables, bread, and bright oranges rolled out into the night. The sight was bewildering, like a scene taken from a small-town movie. "Sorry, I didn't mean to knock so hard," the woman said, a lopsided grin breaking through her modesty. "I dropped my groceries when I realized I might have the wrong address for a delivery." Sarah took a moment, processing the lively twinkle in the stranger's eyes and the hint of camaraderie in the air. "No problem. Do you need a hand with that?" The woman's face lit up brighter than the porch light. "Would you mind? I was just trying to rush back home before the rain came down full force. These groceries are heavy." "Of course." Sarah nudged the door wider, stepping aside as the woman approached. As they gathered scattered oranges together, Sarah couldn't help but feel a strange connection forming. This woman, with her imperfect situation and upbeat spirit, was somehow part of this tapestry of uniqueness they had created in the kitchen moments ago. "Thank you so much," the woman said, a glimmer of relief radiating from her. The day started off great, but it turned into chaos pretty fast." Sarah could relate to that sentiment deeply. "Tell me about it." "We just had a random power outage, and honestly, it felt like a disaster at first." The woman laughed, an effervescent sound that felt buoyant within the space. "But it sounds like you turned it around. That's what life is all about. I assenti it, making the best out of the unexpected." Luke wandered outside, pulling a cookie from his pocket and offering it with utmost sincerity. "Do you want a cookie? We made them." Taken aback, the woman bent down, her eyes sparkling as she accepted the cookie. "Wow, a cookie monster, huh? You are quite the artist." "Yeah, you should see the other ones," Luke said, beaming with pride. The charming exchange opened a window of warmth, blending the chaos of spilled groceries and sticky fingers with laughter and connection. The simple act of sharing created a bond, wrapping around them all like a cozy blanket. Yes, Sarah offered to help carry in the remaining groceries. The laughter from inside recalled her fears and joys, as if a door had opened to a new path. Who was this stranger, and how would their lives intertwine? Just then, a loud rumble of thunder rocked the sky, lighting up the darkness as if to signal that life, much like this unexpected night, was anything but ordinary. What other surprises awaited them beyond this moment? As Sarah stepped back into the warm glow of the house, she felt the weight of the groceries transform from a burdensome task into a delightful promise of connection. Ensuring the woman, who had introduced herself as Mia, had room to step inside, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than just an accident. "Wow, it's really coming down out there," Mia said, glancing back through the open door as droplets started to bounce off the concrete. The rain began to patter steadily, each drop tapping out a rhythm that seemed to match the thudding of Sarah's heart. "Yeah, we weren't expecting a storm," Sarah replied, motioning for Mia, to set her bag down on the kitchen counter. We were just in the middle of baking cookies when the lights went out. Perfect timing for some cookies, if you ask me, Mia said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. I heard you mention a power outage. Sounds like such a classic disaster. She laughed lightly, but the underlying understanding of shared chaos hung in the air. Luke, still buzzing from the excitement, filled 2 plates with cookies, proudly advertising their creation. They're the best cookies ever. You have to try one. Mia knelt down to his level, her enthusiasm infectious. You're a master baker, Luke. Tell me, what is your secret ingredient? Chocolate chips, Luke declared, as if revealing the most guarded of secrets. As they exchanged more banter about baking, Sarah felt a growing warmth envelop the group. The clinks of dishes and the distant thunder rolling outside harmonized with the laughter filling the room, an unexpected symphony of connection that pushed away the earlier tension. Actually, Mia began, brushing her hair back from her face. I moved here not too long ago. It's been, quite the adventure adjusting to a new town. Her voice carried a hint of vulnerability, and Sarah instinctively felt the urge to reach out. Oh, what brought you here? Sarah inquired, genuinely curious. Work, mostly, Mia said, her tone shifting slightly as if she was treading on delicate ground. But I think it's also about finding a place where I feel like I belong. I get that, Sarah said, her heart resonating with Mia's words. We all want to find our spot in the world. Mia gave her a grateful smile, and for a moment, it felt like they were sharing a secret. Then, Sarah's instincts kicked in. Would you like to join us for dinner? It's just me and Luke here tonight, but it would be nice to have someone else around. Oh, I couldn't impose. Mia looked hesitant, her hand fidgeting with the edges of the shopping bag, half filled now with cookies. Not an imposition at all. Luke chimed in, his generosity unfiltered. You already helped us with the groceries. The invitation hung in the air, and Sarah observed Mia's internal struggle. The storm outside might have been coaxing rain, but this moment was about more than just the weather. It was a question of connection, of extending an olive branch to someone who might feel as lost as the groceries on the pavement moments before. After a beat, Mia's eyes softened. Well, if you insist, I would love that. Yes. Luke jumped with joy, practically bouncing in place. As they settled into the kitchen, the thunder faded to a low rumble, and the warmth enveloped them like a cozy cocoon. Stories unfolded over best cookies ever, revealing dreams, fears, and unexpected laughs. But as they began to share, a sudden knock echoed from the door, a distinct and urgent thud that pierced their bubble of comfort. Mia's eyes darted toward the door, her expression shifting from delight to uncertainty. Do you think it's? Breath held, Sarah moved toward the door again, feeling that familiar flutter in her chest. What lay beyond the threshold now? As Sarah swung the door open, she was greeted not by the stormy night, but by a familiar figure, Hannah. Her warm smile instantly dissipated any lingering anxiety. I thought I'd drop by and check on you since I hadn't heard from you today. Behind her, rain pelted down, creating a soft symphony against the pavement. Looks like I brought the weather with me, she said with a chuckle. Not at all. We were just in the middle of an adventure ourselves, Sarah replied, gesturing for Hannah to step inside. Hannah entered, her arms full of vibrant flowers and a freshly baked pie, creating a bouquet of warmth in the cool kitchen air. I brought a little something to celebrate, but I jumped in the rain much too late. She laughed lightly, shaking her head as droplets scattered across the floor. Join us. We were just about to dig into these cookies Luke and I made. As Sarah made the invitation, she felt the joy blooming within her, a sense of togetherness wrapping around them. How lovely. Cookies and company, my 2 favorite things. Hannah beamed as she settled into their shared little world. Their laughter cut through the dim atmosphere, filling the room with a vibrant energy that pulsed like the storm outside. As they all gathered around the kitchen table, the cookies piled high in the center, Sarah felt a heartbeat of change radiating among them. The rain's gentle rhythm mirrored the laughter and stories, creating a symphony of connection. So, how's the baking journey? Luke has been making masterpieces over here. Hannah smiled at Luke, who was busy imposing a hefty amount of sprinkles on his half-eaten cookie. It's the best. Luke stopped mid-bite, his mouth full of cookie. I just showed Mia how to make a cookie monster. Mia smiled radiantly, having effortlessly slipped into the warmth of the kitchen. I didn't know I could find community through cookie decorating, but here we are. The conversation flowed organically, weaving through shared experiences and laughter, creating a rich tapestry of growth and comfort. As Sarah sat back and watched, she felt like an observer of her own life, the tight heartstrings of anxiety loosening with every shared smile and story. "And what about all the love you're pouring into these cookies?" Hannah asked, glancing knowingly at Sarah. "It's not just about the cookies anymore. You're building relationships." In that moment, Sarah's heart surged with realization. This was just about baking, power outages, or even the rain. It was about the connection she had finally embraced. "You're right," she said softly, her voice filled with a new, unwavering confidence. "It's not just about me anymore. This is a whole community of support." As Hannah took a breath, her reflection mirrored Sarah's own journey. "You've opened your heart, and you're already a part of something bigger than you realized. Never underestimate how your courage ignites connection." "But what if I'm afraid?" Sarah whispered, almost as if the doubts had a life of their own. Mia leaned forward, her voice steady and bright like the storm that began to pass through. "It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to falter. What is important is that you stepped forward and made room for others. Everyone here has their battles. Together, we face them." The waves of understanding washed over Sarah, comforting and reassuring. She felt a profound sense of belonging wash over her, filling the gaps of her once isolated heart. As the rain began to let up, settling into a quiet patter, the atmosphere in the kitchen pulsated with hope. Laughter resumed, cookies were shared, and each voice added to the growing sense of unity. Together, they tackled life's little chaos with laughter, a stark contrast to what had once kept Sarah confined. The doorbell rang again, echoing through the warmth of the kitchen. This time her heart didn't race with panic. Instead, it raced with possibility. "Who else could possibly join us now?" Luke asked, peering toward the door, his excitement bubbling over. With renewed courage, Sarah stepped forward once more and opened the door, ready to embrace whatever was waiting outside. The world was vast, alive with connection, and she was finally ready to let it in. And with every moment that unfolded, her past and the pressures of tomorrow melted, bound in the reality that she was no longer alone. As waves of support descended upon her, she understood. Sometimes all it took was a tumble of oranges, a spilled cart of groceries, and a few key connections to transform chaos into joy. Hope blossomed in the echo of laughter. And as Sarah stood at the doorway, she realized that this was just the beginning, a beautiful, vibrant beginning to a life filled with profound connections. Remember, you need to subscribe now to stay part of this journey and not miss the next transformative stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help keep these messages flourishing. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. And don't wait, not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation.